Today we will be exploring the concept of speed, and we'll be using an example of a train, example of two trains to explore that concept. So we're exploring the concept of speed. Okay. Let's say we are given two trains which leave a station at the same time and are traveling in the same direction. Train A is traveling at 50 miles an hour and train B is traveling at 70 miles an hour. And we're supposed to find out how far apart these two trains are away from each other in 5 hours. Okay. So when we look at like train A, we are given that it is traveling at train A traveling at 50 miles per hour. So what does this mean? So suppose you start a stop clock right now and the train leaves the station, and if you stop the stop clock at the end of the hour, the train will have traveled 50 miles from its original point. So that means that in an hour the train travels 50 miles. Similarly for train B, if again you start a stop clock, stopwatch or stop clock as soon as the train starts from the station, and if you stop the stop clock at the end of the hour, the train will have traveled 70 miles from the station, or it will be 70 miles away from the station in an hour. So in general, speed is defined as the distance traveled by an object in a unit amount of time, and we can write speed as distance traveled by an object divided by the time that it takes to travel the distance, time taken to travel. Okay, so we can say like in an hour, for example, train A travels 50 miles, so the speed of the train is 50 miles per hour. Okay, so how do you use this concept of speed in solving the problem? Let's take a look at that. Before we go any further deep, let's review the problem once again. So we're given two trains and they leave the station at the same time and are traveling in the same direction. And train A is traveling at a speed of 50 miles per hour. Train A is 50 miles per hour and train B is traveling at 70 miles per hour. And we are supposed to find out how far these trains are apart from each other in 5 hours. Okay, so let's say these are the two trains. Okay, and this is train A, track for train A, and track for train B. Okay, and this is the station. Now train A starts and goes a certain distance in 5 hours. So let's say it goes from points X to Y in 5 hours. Okay, so let's this be distance traveled by train A. Let's call it distance of A. And similarly, train B starts at this point and goes here, and let's call this as PQ or something. Okay, so and ends up here. So the distance, let's call this distance of B. Okay, now the thing is that both of these trains travel distance A and B in 5 hours. So they travel a distance, train A travels distance A in 5 hours, and train B also takes 5 hours to travel distance B, 5 hours as well. Okay, now consider train A to start with. We know the speed of A is equal to, speed of A is 50 miles per hour. So let's call that as SA. And we know speed is defined as distance by time. So therefore SA is equal to distance traveled by A divided by time that it takes to travel the distance. So we know the time is 5 hours. So SA is 50 is equal to distance of A divided by 5. So distance traveled by train A is 50 into 5 is 250 miles. So that's what the distance XY is. XY is equal to 250. Okay. Similarly, we can write for train B. Speed of B is 70 miles per hour. 70 miles per hour. Let's call that as SB. And we can write SB is equal to distance of B divided by time taken to travel the distance, time of B. So we can write, we know SB is 70 miles per hour is equal to distance of B divided by time, which is 5 hours in this case. So distance of B is equal to 70 into 5 is equal to 350 miles. Okay, that's equal to PQ in our case, distance of B. Now, as we can see that train B has traveled 350 miles and train A has traveled 250 miles. So distance of B is more than distance of A. So in order to find out the difference between distance of A and B, we just subtract those two distances. So this is distance of A here. Let's change the distance of A, and we know that's 250 miles. This is 250 miles. We just calculated that here. And similarly, we know the distance of B here is 350 miles. 350 miles. And we calculated that here. So the difference between these two distances is this right here. This. Let's change the color a little bit. So the difference between those two is this distance. Okay. And it is just a difference of 350 minus 250 is 100 miles. So we can say that in 5 hours, these two trains are 100 miles apart from each other. And that's how you solve the problem.